All right. Shelly ma'am, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So I'll be making you the co-host now.
Yes, sir.
And in the meantime, can you also check if the YouTube live is on?
Sure, I can do that. Yes, sir, it is on. It has a little lag, but it's on. So the live chat has to be activated for YouTube.
Let me just check if it is,
Yeah.
if it can be activated. Just give me a minute.
Yeah. Yes, sir, it is on. It has a little lag, but it's on.
There's an echo from somewhere. Probably you need to keep your microphone muted. No, the YouTube muted.
Yes, sir. Now there will be no echo. There should be no echo now.
Yeah. Just trying to activate the chat. I don't know why is it not appearing now. Let me just check. Give me a few minutes. I'll activate that. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yeah. Is the chat active now? Can you check? Can you check if the chat is active?
Yes, sir. It is active now. Yes,
Good.
it is active. Great.
So we are all set. So
Yeah.
it's 4 minutes remaining now. We will start dot at 5. Is that?
Yes.
Hello. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
This
Good
is
evening,
Sister
ma'am.
Shailaja.
Good evening, ma'am.
All the best. All set?
Yeah, all set. I think YouTube live is on, and parents can probably now log in and see the YouTube direct telecast. And we have parents in the Zoom channel as well, I guess.
Yes, yes. A few parents, selected ones are there.
Yeah, selective ones. So we have in the room around 55, 57 people right now.
Yeah.
And I would request the moderator to please keep checking the questions that appear in the YouTube live so that you can ask me those questions which the parents are asking on the chat.
Yes, sir, definitely.
I'll take a few questions in the Zoom meeting as well, where parents are there. They can ask me directly questions for which they need to be unmuted when they raise their hands. So as a co-host, Shelly ma'am would be able to do that as well.
Yes.
And make sure that this person who is speaking is spotlighted so that we can understand like who is speaking and see the person as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Shelly will take care of all that.
Right.
So all the best, sir, and welcome to Notre Dame School family.
Thank you so much, sister.
Glad to have your presence.
Glad to meet you as well. I would request to the panelists, the parents who are in the panel, to keep their, the video on. That makes communication less abstract. Otherwise, I have to speak to a screen. So please be visible, and the people who are there on YouTube, they can see you as well. We have a lot of people in YouTube as well, and if you keep the cameras on, you can be seen by them. Glad to see all of you.
We have 63 in the meeting. Right now, 63 in the meeting, so 64.
Right. And those who are on the YouTube live, I can see people like Dipti Patil, Richard Fernandez. A lot of people are logging in. The number is increasing. Vijay D'Souza, good evening. Good evening to the YouTube live viewers as well. And just one more minute remaining, and let's begin. So, can we start the program now?
Yes, we will start.
Yes, Riona, I can start.
Now, this is, I'll keep the participants muted and only unmute when you want to speak, right? Yeah, so the moderator can begin. Riona ma'am, you're muted, so unmute yourself and start speaking.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. A very good evening to everyone and welcome to today's session. A day without prayer is a day without blessing, and a life without prayer is a life without power. I invite our principal, Sister Shailija, to lead us all in prayer.
Dear Lord, you have entrusted us as stewards of your creation. Please guide our hearts as we listen and understand the new education policy 2020. Thank you for this opportunity to care for the world you have made. We ask that your blessings would rest on all of us gathered on this virtual platform, especially on our resource person, Mr. Swarup Dutta. Please bless the efforts of our hands and the work entrusted to our care. May your light enfold us. May your spirit guide us. May your grace abound in us. Asking your special blessings upon this meeting, upon this gathering, we call upon our Lord as we pray the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven,
hallowed be thy
hallowed
name.
be thy name. Thy
Thy
kingdom
kingdom come, thy will be done
on
on earth as it is in heaven.
heaven. Give us this
Today,
day
our
our
daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses,
trespasses
as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from all evil. Amen.
Amen. Over to you, Riona.
Thank you, sister. Before we start the session, let us go through some important instructions that we need to remember. You are requested to keep your microphone on mute during the session. Your queries will be addressed towards the end of the session. Kindly use the raise hand feature to ask queries. You will be unmuted one at a time. Please be patient. The parents who are live on YouTube may type their queries in the comment box. Attendance link will be sent during the session. Kindly fill the same. The session will be recorded and uploaded on the school website for your future references. Without further ado, I invite Lutz's teacher to enlighten us about our resource person for the day.
Good evening to one and all. It is a pleasure to see you in this virtual webinar here this evening. Our resource person is a man of principles and is indeed an experienced principal too. At present, he heads the MSM English School, Malkapur. He holds a degree in MSc B.Ed, BHMS, and is a vibrant personality as he stands out in the crowd as an administrator, a leader, a zonal coordinator, and a master trainer of CBSC Pune. He is the first school principal in India to become a master black belt in Lean Six Sigma in education, quality management system, and is a certified Green Belt Global Career Counselor from the University of California and Los Angeles. Adding to his certifications, he is a certified Law of Attraction practitioner from the Global Science Foundation, USA. His qualifications and achievements do not end here. The list seems endless. All this makes a man of letters, a visionary leader, a bridge builder, and an excellent educator. And this evening, we are indeed very fortunate to have this distinguished personality in our midst. Will open the doors of his storehouse of experience to pour out his pearls of wisdom, unfolding his views and ideas on the new education policy 2020 NEP. Please join me in welcoming our guest, Mr. Swarup Dutta. Good evening, sir, and welcome to our family. And now it's over to you, Mr. Swarup Dutta.
Thank you, ma'am, for that lovely introduction. And right now, I'll start with my, the national education policy, which every parent must know. But let me just tell you before I begin that this policy is a very big ocean. So what I have done is I have picked up only that part of the policy which is relevant to the parents. Now, there are three parts of this policy that we are trying to, percolate it to different levels. The first level was for the principals, which is already over now. I have trained principals across Maharashtra on the national education policy. Now, the second level is for the teachers, which is scheduled on 23rd of Feb. And this will be happening from Center of Excellence and CBSE New Delhi. It will be telecast all across Maharashtra. And the teachers of Maharashtra schools of CBSE will be attending that. And the third phase is for the parents. Now, probably this phase that we are doing right now is the third phase, which is already happening ahead of the second phase. So in a way, the parents attending the session are lucky in a way that they are coming to know about the policy much ahead of many of the teachers of Maharashtra. So this is purely because of the initiative of Sister Shailaja that we are organizing such a session. And the PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to show right now is the same PowerPoint presentation we will show to the parents on 13th of March. This PowerPoint presentation I had the privilege of designing for Central Board of Secondary Education, COE Pune. So the same PowerPoint presentation I would be sharing with you parents right now. So this PPT is being telecasted and shared with the parents for the first time, which all other parents will be witnessing after on 13th March. So without wasting any further time, let me just share my screen with you. And what I'll do is I'll first quickly go through a few things, a few slides, and then I'll pause so that in case you have questions, you can ask me that. And at the end of the session again, I'll open it up only for your questions and the doubts that you have, the myths that you have heard of, we can clear all of these things in today's session. Let me just also request the ones who have registered and subscribed to the channel of YouTube and witnessing the program live, stay tuned in the YouTube channel because a lot of other programs I will be telecasting over the next few months, which will be involving the overall development of the students, how the parents need to be sensitized, new issues that keep coming up. You will be all getting the first-hand information through that YouTube channel and different live programs. I'm even planning to host a lot of quizzes for the children, for the parents. So stay tuned in the YouTube channel that you have subscribed. So let's start the presentation. Give me a few minutes, a few seconds, in fact, before that, so that I can share it with you. I hope my screen is visible to all now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. What about the people on the YouTube? Can they see it as well? Probably YouTube channel moves a little bit slower than the Zoom channel.
Yes.
Yes, sir. We can.
Okay, great. So now I'll ask this question first, before I move into the session. Why do you think the new education policy was needed at all? Weren't we doing, wonderfully well in this particular century? For example, we have got people like Sundar Pichai, Satya Nadella, and Indra Nui. All these people are the result of the same education system that we have had for so long. So what was the need to have a new education policy in the second decade of the 21st century? If anyone wants to share his or her view on that, is welcome. Before I begin, what do you think might be a possible reason that this policy had been, published at all?
Can I come in?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
I think there are a lot of changes that has been evolved around the world.
Mm-hmm.
If you see the initial changes, the changes came in the world through the industrial revolution, and slowly the whole world kept changing. As the world is changing, we need to move with the pace of the world. We had different technologies which came after that. The technology is changing, and today we are into the age of IT, the information and technology. And we need to teach our children, we need to teach the new generation, the new things that are happening in the way the world is changing.
So who answered that? I would request the admin to spotlight the one who is speaking at times so that I can see who is it. But the gentleman who spoke right now, is he an educator or a parent?
I'm a parent.
Then I would really say congratulations. You are, you have hit the nail on the head. And I've been asking these questions in different sessions that I take, that what is the reason for a new policy? And people have normally beaten around the bush that we need to include experiential learning, we need to do away with rote learning and all these things. But as you said rightly, the new technological breakthrough that is happening all around and the future, what it holds for our children, that is the most important thing. So this policy has been designed with that in mind, that our children, if they have to, survive in the 21st century, they need to have employment, they need to generate jobs, they need a different education system altogether. Now, let me just begin this in this way before I go deep into the policy, that what has been the background of this policy or how the policies have been designed from time to time during different periods. If you remember, Indians and India, in the very early ages of the Gurukula time, that there used to be Gurukul classes, the Gurukulas like Vedic schools, the children used to go and study the 4 Vedas over there. And that is the way education was. That was the curriculum. Why? Because the children who are going to these Vedic schools, they were expected to come out and perform rituals. Now, the second phase, what happened is, as the population grew and the time passed, there was a difference in that. The Vedic school was there. Along with that, it was divided into different segments. For example, the rulers, the Kshatriyas, they had their own system of education where they learned the skill of, warfare. Similarly, there were different vocations like the blacksmith, the ironsmith, the goldsmith, the cobbler, the tailor. Everything was, different categories were there, and the vocation was restricted to people who were born in that family. So a tailor's son was probably expected to become a tailor only in long run. A cobbler's son would become a cobbler, and so on. Now this scenario also changed, and gradually we saw that intermingling of vocation was happening. So when that was happening, it was an age of, sort of a career breakthrough, I can say, that different careers were being taken up by different people irrespective of their birth, but still some sort of reservation existed. The next phase, Mughals invaded India. What happened? When the Mughals invaded India, they had an agenda in their mind. So the policy was designed according to the agenda of the Mughal emperors. So just after that phase, the British came. And when let's say the Portuguese and the French came, but the British stayed for quite some time. So when the British came, they designed a policy which was required, during that time. They needed a lot of people to work for them. So English became a very important language of communication. The previous language of communication, which was Sanskrit, which was only restricted to the elite class of the society, that was not promoted anymore. English was being promoted, and they needed a lot, a handful, not a handful, in fact, plenty of clerks to serve them. So the education policy was designed in such that they get these clerks to help them out in running the country. I'm not talking about other factors like religious agenda, because that is going to always be there. Whoever is the ruler, they will be trying to preach their religion. That's an obvious thing. But the requirement of the policy was designed in such a way, or the policy was designed in such a way that it meets the requirement of employees that are required in the future. Now, this has been like this for a long time, and different policies after independence have been designed. These policies are, the different policies, all the teachers who take your children's classes, they learn when they do their B.Ed. For example, the Radhakishan Committee and the Mudliar Commission and all different commissions were there. And these commissions, during different phases, rolled out the policies. Admin, can you please check if people can be muted when they're not speaking? Yeah. Right. Thank you so much. So what I was talking about is that as and how the requirement of employees were there, the policies had been designed in a similar fashion. Now, when we are talking about the 21st century, we need to understand which type of jobs our children will be doing 20 or 30 years from now. Now, that is the whole idea of designing the policy, that preparing our children for the profession, for the jobs, for the work that they're going to do 20 years from today, at least 20 years from today, right? So the second part of the policy is, when we look at the global scenario, we see countries, for example, the China can be in the news for wrong reasons as of now, but we cannot refuse the fact or turn down the fact that China had been doing exceedingly well as far as development of the country is concerned. And there are other countries who have not been British colonies, but they are doing exceedingly well as well. For example, one of the countries is Japan, one of the countries is France. So all these countries are doing very good. And their education policy, their lingua franca, that is a mode of communication, is not necessarily English. And the way they are designing their policy of education is keeping the future in mind. So here in India, when we are all set, all geared up to be a superpower of the 21st century, and COVID has probably put us in an advantageous position to make that happen. Now, this COVID has been a boon in disguise. The Namaste of India has spread all across the world, that we have been doing things which is very right. And We have been an advanced nation. As far as the civilization is concerned, we came much ahead of lot many civilizations. So we were an advanced country, a rich country. Richness not in terms of money alone or finance alone. It was a rich in culture, rich in heritage, and rich in everything. Now with the repeated invasions, people have forgotten that. People have slowly got tuned, to their invaders and the likings and dislikings of the invaders. So today in India, we are still fascinated by people who are so-called foreigners. White-skinned people still continue to, sort of make us happy by seeing them or communicating with them. English has become a language which is a mark of literacy. A person's literacy is directly proportional to the English that he or she speaks. And then the entire country is, in a way, getting sort of westernized. Our children love to eat pizza and pasta and all these different things, and we are forgetting the roots that we have, right? So this policy talks about being an Indian. That's the first thing that you need to understand. So let me read out the vision of the policy, which will help you understand why this policy, or what is the whole thought process behind this policy. So the policy goes like this: develop an education system deeply rooted in Indian ethos, which has the capability to provide high quality education to compete in the global world. The curriculum and pedagogy must develop a sense of respect towards fundamental duties and Constitution of India and have a deep bond with the country. Develop a sense of pride and respect for the country and be responsible for human rights, sustainable development, global well-being, thereby reflecting a truly global citizen. So by heart, Indian, by thought, global. That is the purpose of the policy. You cannot afford to be, missing out your roots somewhere. The roots are in India. And the tree, when it grows from the roots, it can spread all over. It can give a lot of shadow when it spreads. But if the roots are cut, the tree won't survive. So here we are talking about a system of education which will promote our children to be and feel Indian and think in a global standard. Next, focus on socio-economically disadvantaged group, that is the SEDGs, and it's being discussed right now that a national scholarship portal will be developed to help the different genders. For example, the female and the transgender in particular. There are still parts of our country where the women or the girls are not allowed to go to schools. I have visited interior villages of UP and Rajasthan where, the children are simply not sent to the school because on the way to the school, something might happen to them. There are a lot many cases of, female molestation and rapes happening when the child is going towards the school. So all these things have prevented our girls to reach the schools in the first place. Now, this policy talks about bringing them to the schools. There are people who have gendered, identifying their gender, there has a difficulty for that. For example, the transgenders. And these people, they live a life of pain, that they are physically they are male and mentally they are female, or vice versa. Now, they have always been made fun of. So it's being discussed right now that bring these people who have problems in gender identity into the domain of education respectfully. Give them the respect that they deserve and include them in the school as well. Next, socio-cultural identities like scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, other backward classes, minority. So financial help to be given to these classes as well. Geographical identities such as students from the different villages, remote villages, small towns, aspirational districts. So something to be done for these people as well. So the government is keeping a scope for financial support through the scholarship portal for these people. Next, geographical identity is done. Now disabilities. Now we have got children who are, they have cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and learning disabilities like dyslexia. So these children have to be included in the mainframe education. We cannot send them to a different school anymore. So what we are doing about these children who have problem seeing, listening, speaking, understanding, are we doing something about them in the mainframe school? So this policy talks about including them and having a concrete plan for these children so that they are included in mainframe education, they are not left out. The next is socioeconomic conditions, like the migrant workers who work in different places of the country. They come from a different place and settle down somewhere. The victims of human trafficking and orphans. So these segments are to be included in education, mainframe education, and the policy talks about how we can support these children. Next. Now this is probably the biggest breakthrough that I'm going to talk about. One of the biggest, if not the biggest, one of the biggest. What is that? The entire 10+2 system that we all have studied in is going for a change. So 10+2 system is being dissolved right now. Understand this. So there will be nothing called junior colleges. There will be nothing called 10+2. So what will be there? There will be a system which is called 5+3+3+4. So 5+3+3+4. So when I talk about that, what are these five? What is this five that I'm talking about? The first five is nursery, KG1, KG2, class 1, class 2. So the first 5 years, which is called the foundational stage, comprises of nursery, LKG, UKG 1 and 2. Now, why we are talking about these things? One that these classes were already there in the mainstream, right? It's again a wrong notion. The pre-primary schools existed in isolation. You must have seen so many schools which existed only as pre-primary schools. The parents used to send the children to these schools in the initial years, and then after they qualify the UKG, they used to be shifted to a different school. A lot of schools were like this. So now it is being told, bring everyone under the purview of one single umbrella. So this one single umbrella is the pre-primary along with 1 and 2. Next is the preparatory stage. The preparatory stage is a stage where, the class 3, 4, and 5, these classes are put in the preparatory stage. The next was the middle. Next one is the middle stage, which is class 6, 7, and 8. And finally, the secondary stage. Now mark this, we are not calling it higher secondary anymore. We are calling it just secondary stage. And this secondary stage is comprised of 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now understand the structure very clearly. 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Now I'll pause for a moment and check if you have any question on this. If you have any doubt, anything that you've heard of, and you want to ask me something on this, because this is a very important slide. Anyone has any question? Even the ones you can ask.
Can I speak?
In the chat box. Yeah, who is this, please?
Yeah. This is Vanessa Scutino speaking. I
Alright.
wanted to know that since you have just mentioned about secondary stage, where 11th and 12th will go along with 9th and 10th,
Right.
does that mean that the existing schools will also have 11 plus 12 standards in the same school?
Yes, preferably. Because if 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th comes under one bracket, no school will want the children to be completing 9th and 10th in their school and shifting to another school for 11th and 12th, which was happening so far. So if 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th comes together, what can that possibly mean? Now, we have to understand that this is a policy that we are talking about. The implementation of the policy will happen through a very detailed framework called the National Curriculum Framework. So the last National Curriculum Framework was of 2005. So after 2005, in this particular year, we are going to have a new National Curriculum Framework, which will tell us how the policy is going to be implemented at the grassroots level. But what we can expect? We can expect, if since 9, 10, 11, 12 comes under one bracket, a subject that the child has taken in class 9th, there remains a possibility that he can clear the subject by the time he reaches class 12. So it need not be like this, like they complete the entire, all the subjects that have taken in 9th in the 10th itself. Some subjects, like a semester pattern, might be rolled over to the 11th and 12th level. So there remains a possibility, but we have to wait and see, if the policy is being implemented that way or not. But the policy certainly kept the option open. Any other question on this?
Can I ask?
Please, sir.
Okay. The first stage that you spoke about is the pre-primary stage,
Right.
where you have nursery, you have KG first and second. Does this eliminates the private nurseries which are existing?
Yeah, that again, is a good question. And it's a good question because the answer is not yet given. It's only the policy that has been stated like that. So what we can expect that all these organizations which were running so-called preschools, they are not going to, either they're going to meet the requirements of the preschool and exist, or they will not exist anymore. Because it comes under now the domain of mainframe schooling. So there will be specific criteria set for these schools. Just like in a mainframe school, to teach in a mainframe school or in a normal school, you need to have a B.Ed. But these, a lot of preschools with different brand names that came up, they did not care for the qualification of teachers. They had a curriculum in place which was designed by a central body. They hired local teachers, not necessarily paying attention to their qualification. These schools were never inspected. There was no, criteria set for how many workers should be working in that, how many hours of teaching should happen. So now with all these things being pronounced clearly, either these schools have to match to that or they will cease existing. As simple as that.
So I have one question.
Sure.
As you said that 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th will be considered as one.
Right.
Okay, so what about the 10th standard board exams then? Will the exams be conducted for the 10th standard?
Absolutely. I'll come to that slide. In fact, my next slide is, next slide is that. Let me show you. Sorry. Yeah, I'll show you this. In fact, that's a slide I missed. It was for the teachers. It's not for the parents. But I'll tell you which are the classes exams have been proposed. The exams have been proposed in class 3, class 5, class 8, class 10, and class 12. These are the 5 years in which the examination should be conducted. The policy talks about, I'll repeat that if you have not made a note of it, but it's going to be there on the YouTube channel anyway. You can revise and see whenever you want. So it's going to be class 3, class 5, class 8, class 10th, and 12th. So these are the classes in which assessment is going to happen. Now, when we are talking about the board exam, it happens in class 10th and class 12th. Now, these board exams are going to exist, but in a different form. What exactly that form is? The form is going to be such that can easily accommodate the philosophy of the policy, the changes that are needed to be made in the infrastructure and the curriculum. These things will be included, and the board exams will be conducted in a similar fashion. Hints have been given that a board exam might be conducted twice a year or more than twice a year if need be. Now, what does it mean? The focus is decentralizing the pressure on one single exam. Board exams are such a nerve-breaking thing for the children. Everyone is preparing the kids only for the board exam. Now, if you see any parent who is admitting a child in the school, they have only one focus initially. That is a good result in the board exam. Now, if we keep understanding that education in terms of what my child is doing at the board exam level, we are probably going back almost 50 to 80 years. That was the condition 50 to 80 years back. The entire school, the entire schooling was revolving around board exams. Let's say in early 1970s, 1980s, the board exam was given utmost importance. How much a child has scored in the board exam was very, very important. But next phase in the 90s and in 2000s, what happened? How many children are qualifying now for the NEET and IIT entrance examination? That became very important. Now you must have seen like there is a herd mentality right now. If my child is good in mathematics, he should go for engineering, and if my child is good in biology, he should be going for medicals. And if he's not good in either of them, then I will probably plan chartered accountancy or IAS or something like that, humanities. There are limited number of careers that the parents have in mind and keep pushing the children in that direction. Now they forget that there is a small gate which they're trying to push in thousands and lakhs of children through that small gate. And what is happening in the process is the children are subjected to mental trauma, frustration, and ultimately they are taking up odd jobs because they are not successful in doing whatever they thought of, and a lot of good talent is simply being drained off in the absence of proper guidance. Now here, this particular policy talks about how to or what to do with these children. These children, when they are in school, the emphasis should not be there on board exam anymore. So decentralize it. Decentralize it. Educate the parents that do not look at your child's maths marks or science marks only. You talk about successful people right now. If we talk about multimillionaire, billionaire, Sachin Tendulkar, how much score he got in 10th, no one cares. Next, you talk about, let's say, Bill Gates. We never know that whether he was a topper in the class or not. In fact, he has shared that the topper of the class now works for him. So Bill Gates' company, the topper of the class, works for the child who was never a topper. The next thing is, now if you see the schools, every school has at least 10 to 15 children who score 95% and above. What does it mean? Nothing. Because so many children scoring 95% above does not guarantee that they become successful in their lives. So this is the age. This is an age of information technology. And at this age, you have to understand that just an academic qualification, just flowery scores will not help you. So this policy talks about decentralizing the board exam and allowing the children to learn for the sake of learning. So learning to learn is the slogan of the new education policy. The children should decide what they want to learn. Next, let's go to the salient features of the stages in the school, which is related to my previous slide. What is going to happen? In the preschool or the foundation stage, we are tuned in a particular way. Whenever a guest comes to our house, if my child is in preschool, we try to call the child and tell, okay, tell a rhyme and let the people know how nicely you can speak a rhyme or say a rhyme, or tell 1 to 10. You pronounce now the different words. This is not the way to check a child. We try to check a child according to our own mindset, that if a child is able to tell a rhyme, the child is doing well. If he's not able to tell it, probably he needs improvement. But that's not the case. We have set specific milestones for different levels. For example, in the foundation stage, it's more important to understand, is your child able to hear, able to talk, able to see properly? Is your child able to walk properly? Is your child able to mix with others properly? Are his bigger muscles functioning properly? Can he jump? Can he roll? Can he run? And then what about his smaller muscles? So the big muscles are called the gross motor skills, and the smaller muscles are called the fine motor skills. So these fine motor skills, is the child able to fit in things in block holes? Is the child able to hold a pencil? Is the child able to write something with his finger on a sand pit? And then you give the pencil to the child, not before that. So these are the stages where the child needs to learn only through play. There was a proverb, if you remember, that all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Now, why Jack became a dull boy? Because the development of the brain is dependent on the movements of the nervous system in the entire body. So if your nerves are functioning in the entire body, your brain is linked with all those nerves. So without developing your body, you cannot expect your mind to develop. So keep that in mind. And that is the reason in the play school or the foundation stage, a lot of emphasis is given in the play and activity-based learning. When they go to the next stage now, class 3, 4, and 5, what will happen? Gradual transition from play-based learning to more formal classroom learning. Now here also, it will be a gradual shift from only play to play into, shifting into the new subjects. For example, EVS, science, social studies, all these subjects start gaining more importance. And then it has been advised for the teachers to go for interactive teaching and introducing subjects like physical education, languages, science, maths. Emphasis has to be paid on 3 R's. What are the 3 R's? Reading, writing, arithmetic. So reading, writing, and mathematics, this remains the foundation skill that every child should know. In the middle stage, that is class 6 to 8, the subject-oriented pedagogical and curricular methodology has to be changed. So here you will see a new methodology will be adopted to treat the class 6 to 8 children. This will be more of discussion, abstract concept, and brainstorming, and allowing the child's natural curiosity to prevail. The child will not be forced to learn things. In fact, it will be inquiry-based learning. What the child wants to know, wants to learn, that will be given to the child. And in the high school stage, that's a secondary stage, it will be a 4 years of multidisciplinary study. Now, greater depth, greater critical thinking, greater attention of life aspirations are going to be there. And most importantly, children will be given greater flexibility. Now, listen to this very carefully, something that is going to happen. There will be no more specific streams for the children anymore. For example, now we used to ask the children, are you going to take up science, or are you going to take up arts or commerce? That's gone forever. At least till another government comes and changes it. So this thing, arts, science, and commerce, will not be existing anymore as streams. So what I can do right now as a student of class, let's say 11th or 12th, I can take up physics as one of my subjects. I can take accountancy as my second subject. I can take music as my third subject. So the so-called co-scholastic subjects will not be co-scholastic anymore. They will become scholastic subject. Because earlier we used to say, very good, the child is able to play cricket, but what about the next phase? Will he be able to get a college admission with his cricket skills? He needs scores for that, right? He needs marks in maths, science, English. But right now, your child can pass the school, the higher secondary part of the school at least, with cricket score as well, with music scores as well. So your child, if he's good in music, good in sports, good in any other form, you can allow the child to take that subject in 11th and 12th level, and he will get an admission in the colleges too. The colleges also have been designed in that way that now there will be no so-called science colleges, commerce colleges, nothing like that. Second thing, colleges had affiliations, affiliated to Amravati University, Nagpur University, and so on. Now the colleges will be given, they will be given independence. They will be taken away from the domains of so-called affiliation. They will be functioning as their own. So what will happen? They can take up and choose subjects which they can give to their children. So a child can basically take admission in a college also with sports, with music, and so on. Now, when I'm telling this, does this question come to your mind that what if my child takes music? Is there a job for my child? What is the guarantee? Because we know that musicians there are plenty of them. Are there employment opportunities for that? Now, for this, you have to understand that employment opportunities are opening up. In the yesteryears, if your child was good in music, we meant he can be a vocalist or he is an instrument player. But right now, if you see, related to music, there are so many streams that has opened up. Music technicians, composers, and lot many things, audiologists, sound recordists, hundreds of professions are there related to music itself. And your child, if his area of excellence is music, you can still push the child in that domain and rest assured that he will do something lucrative in long run. So this is the advantage of the new policy. It dissolves the barrier between the different streams. No science, commerce, arts anymore. Take whatever you want. So isn't that wonderful? So this is what is being talked about in the silent features of the policy. Now, do you have a question in this? Because again, this is very important regarding the future of the children. So if you have a question, any doubt in your mind, you can ask.
Can I speak, sir?
Sure, please go ahead, Rashmi ma'am.
Yeah, good evening, sir. I just want to ask, since there is a syllabus change right from the nursery, will the medical colleges and engineering colleges will change their curriculum accordingly? Because for an engineering college, like they need to have physics, maths for 12th standard. So, uh, in that case, will there be any change in their syllabus also?
Has to be. Has to be, because unless and until there is a change in their structure, there's no point in changing the subject combination in the previous level, right? So if
Yes, exactly. Because right now, those children who are there, like for them, they have already taken their science or commerce or arts. So later on, what about their future? So I just want to ask whether there the means they have that provision also, because when a policy is made, it has to be made for all the levels till the
right,
children finishes their education.
true. Now understand this thing, that whenever there's a change, there is definitely a transition phase. So all the children who have just passed out with the previous policy right now, so they have already taken a stream of choice that they chose in 11th or 12th. What will happen to them? They will be, they will have the privilege of enrolling for other courses irrespective of their stream. For example, if I am a science student and now with the new policy coming in, I want to do something that I always wanted to do in commerce. Let's say I wanted to learn accountancy. Will my science qualification allowing me to enroll in a commerce course as well? It will. So now the barrier is being removed. So whoever was in either sides, they have now free entry in the domains. A science can go into commerce, a commerce can come into science, and so on. So the barrier is now removed. So they are free to choose what they want to do now. So that's one advantage of it. And was there a different part of the question which I missed?
Yes, sir. Here I'm
Competitive exams.
Pramila, as a parent, I'm asking if the curriculum is changing drastically, and even the domains, as if you mentioned just now, will be removed. So vocational education will be given at the school level.
Absolutely. There's a provision for that. In fact, from class 6 to 8, now vocational course is being introduced in the schools. And there will be 10 bagless days, which I'm going to talk about in my next slides. So vocational education is going to be included. The second thing is the competitive exam that we spoke about. If we say that competitive exam will only allow physics, chemistry, and biology for entrance exam of NEET and PCM for IIT, then there will be some sort of rigidity existing. Now we have to wait and see how the policy is backed up by the curriculum framework, because the policy is a vision. It's not the implementation part of it. The implementation part of it will come with the national curriculum framework. Now how the framework adopts this particular policy and makes the changes in the grassroots level, that has to be seen. But we can understand and safely assume that since subject flexibility is being talked about, definitely the competitive exams will also allow that to happen. And the colleges, higher education system, that's also going to allow that. In fact, the entire higher education system, except two domains, the medical and the law, will come under one umbrella called HECI, Higher Education Council of India. They will be controlling all the domains except the law and the medicine. So there will be provision made that this subject flexibility, which we are talking about in the school level, college level, it can be going to the very top level as well. Is there a question?
Excuse me.
So may I speak?
Yeah, please.
Sir, I am a parent as well as a teacher. And while reading about the NEP, I came across a particular clause which states that the students can go in for their PhD degree immediately after their after their graduation. So the MPhil will be abolished. So
Absolutely.
could you please enlighten us about this particular issue, sir?
Yeah, the MPhil will not exist anymore. In fact, after graduation, the children can enroll for the PhDs. So sort of withdrawn right now. And as you know, the PhD now has an aptitude test called the PhD test. So a lot of universities already do it. So similar fashion. But again, as I said, whatever you have read in the clauses, how
Yeah.
that will be rolled out by the UGC, by the National Curriculum Framework, and then we will be able to understand it. But right now we can understand that MPhil is not going to be there anymore.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Let's go to the next part of the policy, which is again.
So I have one question here.
Yeah, ma'am.
So I just wanted to know, with this uniform policy that is coming up for Pan India, so there will not be actual boards as CBSE, ICSE, and state level boards. Is that so? It will be uniform for the entire.
The idea is from a very long time we are planning for one nation, one board. But there are certain limitations to it. The infrastructure and there are certain technical sides of it. So the government is trying to do it right now. With this policy, we will see in long run one nation, one board. So, but you understand one thing: education is a big ship. It just change all of a sudden. So it gradually turns itself. So when the gradual turning is happening, we have to just wait for a few things to work. The policy is there, but does not mean it will happen. Everything will happen in the next year or the very. So we have to wait for 10 years at times, 15 years at times for different things to see the light of day.
Okay, but the pattern of assessment and the reports and all will be uniform for all the children. Is that so?
Yes, we are talking about assessment, which is a competency-based assessment.
Yeah.
Will take away the emphasis on rote learning. Syllabus volume will be reduced, and children will be asked competence. Even this exam, if you see the new board exam for this year, academic year, in class 10th level, there are certain case studies that have been included. Right?
Yes.
These type of questions will be there. Case, making assumptions, reading unseen passages and writing the answer. So why it may not be your memory, but it should be levels of higher order thinking skill. So we are crossing that level where we need to depend on the memory, because we don't need to remember things right now. There is internet is there, computers are there. They will remember things much better than we do. So why unnecessarily put the pressure in the brains of the children?
Okay.
Simple idea.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Next is another very big thing. Yes, anyone had a question before?
I have a question here. May I?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Rashmi Joshi, a parent. As we are talking about flexibility, subject flexibility, how are the students of the last bracket, that is 9 to 12, are going to benefit from it? Will they, or it is still time?
It's still time.
Still time.
Because right now the children have already chosen their stream, right? So when we see that the NCF has been rolled out and it tells clearly that from this year there will be no silos between different streams, till that time it will exist the way it is. But what will happen after that? After that, for example, in the graduation level and the post-graduation level, they can still choose subjects of their choice. For example, I have qualified as a science student, and then in the post-graduation level, can I do MCOM? With let's say a BSc degree, can I go for MCOM? So probably that provision will be opened up, because the streams will be dissolved. So right now, if you want to do a MCOM, you need a BCom, right? So that thing, if that part is dissolved, so even the children who has passed out with the previous model, they will still be benefited.
Okay, thank you.
So,
yeah.
So I have a question where I want to ask if the streams are dissolved now for the further certain, like you have for the courses like pharmacy or the courses, other courses. So how the entrance would be taken care of? It will be through NEET, or how it would go?
No, this is a question that I said that we have to wait for the implementation part, because that will come out through the respective departments. If you're talking about civil services, will be how the administrative service exam will be there, how the banking exam will be conducted. So these all things will be happening gradually. We do not know what's going to happen as of now, but we can assume that the structure will definitely change. It will help the way the policy is being designed. It will be accommodating these things. It will not be excluding these things. That is the whole idea. So we have to wait.
And one more.
Yeah, please.
And one more thing, yes. And one more question, sir. I just want to ask for the foundation stage, like up to second standard, it would be like play activity or focus on teamwork. Now, how this would be implemented through syllabus? I mean, what kind of syllabus would be developed for this stage?
This is the NCF that I'm talking about. Have you seen an NCF ever? You can go through the NCF. It's there on internet, NCF 2005. If you download that, you will see how the policy is being, implemented. It talks about the implementation part, how the exam system will be, what will be, taught to the child, how the curriculum will be. So all these things are told in the National Curriculum Framework.
Okay, sir.
NCRT is working on that. NCRT is doing a lot of work right now only to make that happen. Designing new books, designing new curriculum, learning objective based curriculum will be there. So we are going to a pattern where the textbook will not play importance anymore. Irrespective of what textbook you have, the learning objective will matter. For example, I have to learn noun. It does not matter I learn it from Renan Martin or Nesfield's grammar or XYZ grammar. So that is the whole idea, that the schools have to give the learning objectives as instructed to them by the boards or the curriculum, and this learning objective will be the sole thing. The child can use any book. So it's talking about the freedom to be given to the learner which book he wants to read. If you see the Western countries and IB curriculum, there are no textbooks as such. So the freedom is given to the child. Whatever book they want to refer to, the whole world is open to them. They can refer and learn that topic or that learning objective. So we are moving to that direction. So the whole, the burden of the textbooks and the importance of the textbook, that has to be slowly decentralized. I will not say the textbooks will lose their meaning. Textbook will not be important anymore. It's going to be, but certainly not the way it is today.
Thank you, sir.
Now, so one more question, please.
Yeah, please.
Sir, if the child doesn't, like he has chosen a subject for grade 9, he doesn't do the next year. Hello?
I couldn't hear you properly. Your voice got cut off.
So now the new policy says that the child has his own subject. So the child doesn't do well in grade 9. Does he have the flexibility to choose the subject in grade 10?
You're talking about changing the subjects.
Yes.
In grade 9, the child has chosen a subject if he's allowed to change it. As of now, whatever is being, we can understand with the policy is different subjects to be offered at 2 different levels. For example, we've seen maths existing as standard and basic maths. So the same provision is being now talked about in terms of English, Hindi, Sanskrit. So the languages will be offered at 2 different levels. And we might see other subjects being offered at 2 different levels as well. And then the flexibility, how much flexibility will be allowed? That will again depend on the NCF, National Curriculum Framework. We are only looking at the part of this thing, only half with the policy. Unless and until the framework is there, we cannot say for sure how is it going to work out. The next, let me go to the next part first.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, this is talking about the language of communication. Now here, learning in mother tongue, regional language up to class 5 and preferably till class 8 is being talked about. So the so-called English medium schools cannot force English anymore as a subject of communication, a language of communication. So the children will be allowed to understand and the teachers will be allowed to teach in the local language, in the mother tongue or a local language. So the emphasis on English is being taken away, because a lot of times we have seen the child is good in mathematics, but because he is weak in English, which is a foreign language, the child cannot solve complex maths problems as well, mainly because he cannot understand the problem. And that is all nothing to do with maths. It has something to do with language understanding. Similarly, in terms of social studies, a lot of children fail in social studies because they do not understand what the question is asking them. So a weakness in language boils down to weakness in all other subjects. So this is what we are trying to stop right now, that, teach the child in the mother tongue, in the local language. Apart from that, it has also been seen that, a lot of children passing out from schools and getting into good positions could not communicate to their, at the local level, something that they have invented, a new theory that they have given. So they are communicating in English and it's not reaching to the, to the farmers or the people for whom it is meant. So this is something that we are talking about. Teach till class 5 and preferably till class 8 in the mother tongue. So it will be a mix of English and mother tongue. Next is shift to competency-based teaching, learning, and assessment. Now, this is what we're talking about, reduction of the syllabus. If you see the pink pile of books becoming a yellow pile, so this is what we are talking about in terms of syllabus reduction. Learn only what is required. What will be required, in fact, in the 21st century. How many of you parents over here use the log table in your day-to-day work? Is there anyone? Speak out, please, then. But we all had to, rack our brains trying to understand the logarithm, and it used to torture us really in mathematics when we used to learn that. Was it really needed? So probably we can do away with things that is not practically needed anymore. Now there is a complex formula for calculating the mean, median, and mode in statistics. But if you see any organization now, they simply do it on Excel. They don't go for the statistical formula anymore. It's going to take up so much time. So they just put a number or a series of numbers in Excel column, go for the formula, one click of the button, you get the mean, median, and mode. So why teach children things that they can do with one click of a button? So the syllabus is talking about reducing all those things which will not have any use in the 21st century. So this thing is talking about testing the child's higher order thinking skills. Next. Yes, this was the slide I was talking about. Grade 3, grade 5, grade 8, grade 10, and grade 12. As you see, these are the years in which assessment will happen at the class level. In all of the classes, it will be more of a formative assessment. You have learned driving, where the driver, who is learning driving is sitting in the driver's seat and the teacher is sitting on the next seat. And the teacher also has the brake and, the clutch in his feet. So what he does is, while the child is learning, the teacher is guiding and teaching the child as well. So assessment and learning is happening hand in hand or parallelly. So this is a type of assessment that will go on in other classes, where the child will not be exposed to the pressure of a year-end examination. So when that pressure is relieved, learning will become fun, and learning to learn will get the priority, not learning to clear the examination. But I'll tell you one thing, this session for the parents have been arranged with the objective that parents should not push the child to deliver, the marks. As long as the parents push the child to deliver the marks, it's not going to work out. So give the freedom to the child, enjoy the schooling, learn to learn, and then I can assure you, I am a career counselor as well, that, and probably in one of the sessions of my YouTube later on, I will show you that there are 30,000 different types of professions and 3,000 different types of jobs that exist. So don't need to worry. A child will definitely do something good. Don't need to, push him to become an engineer or a doctor. Anything that your child is born with, the God's gift that he has come to the earth with, that God's gift need to be realized. Your child has come with a gift. Every child has come with a gift. The problem is we are trying to make a bird swim and a fish fly. There's where something we are going wrong. So right now with this policy, it's being talked about that, assess the child to find out his competencies, not what he does not know. So there will be this Shikshak Parv holistic progress card, which is talking about a report card pattern to be changed. And this report card will be designed in a way which focuses on what are the different qualities the child has. For example, if you come to school, now the teacher will not tell you anymore that, Mrs. Joseph or something like that, that your child has failed in maths, is doing miserably in English, we need to do something about him. The teacher is more likely to start the conversation like, your child is a wonderful communicator. He is very popular among his friends and he narrates something so wonderfully well. I think he is, he is a person who can think about either a marketing job, convincing people, and this area he can definitely flourish in. So think about that. These are the marketing courses which he can take up after class 10th. So when my child is in class 8, what I will understand is, yes, my child can become a great marketing guy. And marketing guy, if you have a wrong notion about that, any organization is headed by a marketing guy. So marketing is not a bad thing, right? So engineers work under marketing guys, if you see that. Who is the head of any organization? is the CEO. What the CEO does, he is a person who markets. All other engineers and other people work under him. So keep that in mind, that no matter what, your child can become something, a real superhero if he pursues only his positive side. So we will talk about his positives, not about his negatives. If he is not good in English, he should not take up English in long run. Does not matter. Next, 10 bagless days, emphasis on vocational education. Come to the school, have the potters around you, learn pottery, learn gardening, learn electric work, learn mobile repairing, TV repairing, automobile repairing, all different things. The children will be given these type of trainings. So next time your car becomes damaged, you can expect your son to fix it up. So don't worry about that. And you can also expect a few mobile phones and their refrigerators can get damaged in the process. So just kidding, it's nothing like that. The schools will be giving all these things so that they can do trial and errors with these devices. And the grade 6 to 8 level, vocational education will be a subject. So vocational courses, as I said, 10 bagless days, this is going to happen. And understand one thing, when I'm talking about the vocational course, I'll just ask, we have just reached 6. Is it okay if we extend the session for another 15-20 minutes? Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah,
No problem.
fine.
Yes, sir. No problem.
All right. So I'll
Okay,
ask a question to you. If you are a parent of a child from grade 1 to grade 10, I'm pretty sure a company which sounds like Black Cap Senior must have knocked your door. It's not the company that sounds like that, right? So Black Cap Senior or any other cap or hat must have knocked your door and tried to convince you how coding will be an essential skill for your child to get a job. And probably many of your parents have admitted the child in so-called coding classes. Now, in grade 6 to 8, the schools also will be teaching coding. Don't worry about that. But my question is, how many of you believe that by learning coding, your child has a guaranteed job in the 21st century? How many of you believe? Do you believe? If anyone is there, you say that I believe it. Okay. So now understand this, that coding is just a language which the child needs to learn to communicate with the computer. The computer only understands codes, binary codes, 1 and 0. So the child learning to code is just talking with the computer, how to talk with the computer, how to make the computer do something. But what he wants to make the computer do, unless and until he has a solution in his brain that I will design an app which will help the children to study. I'll design an app to make the railway reservations easy. I'll design an app for the farmers. The coding will have no sense at all. So understand this thing, that coding or no coding, your child needs to have design thinking, design learning, machine learning, and this is called computational thinking. I'll take a different session on computational thinking on my YouTube channel in the days to come. You can learn in detail about that. But understand, without computational thinking, if you teach your child coding, it will not work out. And computational thinking is nothing to do with computers. Computational thinking has 4 components. Problem disintegration, that is breaking down a problem into small part so that one team can work with individual part of the problem. Second is pattern recognition, recognizing patterns. Today, everything works in patterns. How the share market will fare, people predict that, right? So patterns are to be recognized. The third thing is abstraction, only giving that much information, whatever is needed. For example, if we see the very currency that we use, money, it's an abstraction. We do not know anything about the currency except its denominator. The amount that it's written on that, how it can be demonetized, how my currency in my purse will not remain mine anymore. All these things we were unknown until the time Modi ji came up with the demonetization process. A lot of people could not even believe that my bag full of money which I stored for so many years just have become pieces of paper. How is it happening? So that is an abstraction. Currency is an abstraction. The metro rails, where the station names are put serially and it does not show where in the map those stations are. It's just put one after another so that people understand this is the station, next station is this one. Whether it is located in the north or south of the map does not matter. That's an abstraction. And finally, algorithm. Algorithm is a flow chart the child needs to make so that he can design his work in a proper way. So these four things are called computational thinking. And the world's most advanced digital nations, the D5 nations, they are telling now that without computational thinking, if you expose your child just to coding, do not expect the child to do something good in the 21st century. He will remain as a back-end operator. So if parents are happy seeing a child converting a blue sphere into red and a red sphere into blue by enrolling any of the courses, then it's something like Pappu pass ho gaya. Nothing like that. Don't be happy about your Pappu that he can convert a red into blue and blue into red. Unless and until he designs a solution, no one is going to buy that app which converts red into blue and blue into red, right? So this type of thing needs creativity, needs problem solving, and creativity cannot happen if we burden our children with loads of syllabus. For creativity to happen, the syllabi volume has to be reduced, freedom of thinking has to be given, higher order skills have to be tested, examination pattern has to be changed. So this is what is being done right now with the new policy. So another important thing, no school dropouts is the objective of the this policy. Make sure that if you see children dropping out, we can tell them not only the formal schooling, but open and distance learning, National Institute of Open Schooling, NIOS, all these options are available for children who want to continue education, and they can do it, absolutely minimum or no cost. So these things are to be kept in mind, that children should not be pulled out of education, especially the migrant laborers, human trafficking. They pull out their children and do things like, child labor, they work like that. So these children have to be brought back into the education sector and in schools. So I was talking about this, NIOS. Go through the website of NIOS and you will have a lot of things that you will learn. If your child is really not doing well in a CBSE school in grade 10 or 9, and you can understand that he's not going to clear it, why don't we do something that the child can clear it? NIOS gives you such options. So do not pressurize your child. That's something that the policy is talking about. Next. So what are the very prominent features? Competency-based education, integration of subjects like art integration, sport integration to be done, development of scientific temper, no silos among the subject learning, like streams are to be dissolved now, emphasis on digital literacy. I talked about this thing, computational thinking. Everyone needs to be digitally literate now. Coding will be introduced in schools also, and promotion of multilingual teaching. That is a very prominent feature. Now, what the parents are expected to do. Parents should identify physical disabilities in a child at an early age. Like if your child is suffering from dyslexia, do not be the parent of Tare Zameen Par, where the parent is absolutely not aware and not accepting that my child has dyslexia. So to cure any disability, first thing is acceptance. If you do not accept, no one is going to help you. So understand this, that it's okay and it's normal for any of our children to have dyslexia. In fact, a research proves that out of every 10 children, there are at least 4 children who have either mild, moderate, or profound dyslexia. So this is not a disease. This is just an inability of the child to understand a language, and it can happen. So apart from that, physical disabilities, like if the child is hard of hearing, the child is able to see properly or not, at times you will see your child is refusing to read, not because he does not want to read, but he cannot read. Why? Because he cannot see. And I have been a personal witness to that. In fact, I all of a sudden noticed, without even being an educator, being a principal, being a trainer, all of a sudden, in the last, probably 2 years ago, I realized I don't like reading books anymore. I was not enjoying reading books. And then I realized I'm not enjoying because I cannot see. I went to a doctor and took the spectacles. And after I took the spectacles, now I became the same voracious reader I was. But during the middle phase, I doubted my own, inclination to learn something. I thought probably I'm getting old and I don't want to learn anymore. So a child can experience that as well. He will not know that he's not seeing, because the plus power which we talk about in spectacles, people are sometimes not aware of it. They simply cannot see what is written clearly, and they close the book because they're not enjoying the reading anymore. So watch out for those things. Keep checking the eyes of your children. Go to an ENT specialist from time to time. Next is Learning disabilities, as I already told about, dyslexia, uh, dyscalculia, difficulty in solving maths problems, these are there. And there are provisions in the CBSE bylaws where special advantages will be given to these children. Take those advantages. So the Disability Act of India allows your children to get certain benefits if they have certain disabilities, and nothing to be shy of. Early detection means early help, as simple as that. The next thing is this one. Parents should attend parenting session that will be organized by the schools. Now, one thing I already told you, that stay tuned to this YouTube channel. I will be taking a lot of parenting sessions, which you can, see either live or, a recorded version of that, and you will be enriched with those concepts. So in the school, a lot of parenting sessions will be arranged by your school also. Definitely don't miss those sessions. Make sure you attend those sessions positively. Even if you're busy, even if you have work to do, go to the school and attend those sessions. It will help you to become a better parent. Parents are expected to work closely with the school to deal with substance abuse, sexual orientation of the child, and other adolescent issues. So a lot of orientation problem of the child happens these days. The sort of trapped in a male body and a female mind, as I told you earlier. There are substance abuse, cigarettes and alcohol and drugs. These are everywhere. Children have so much access to it. So please understand that how to identify if your child is doing any of these things or not. There are other adolescent issues like, romantic affairs with the classmates or any other child, which you need to understand and identify to help the child. Otherwise, if you just keep a blind eye to it or do not notice, when you notice, it will be too late. Stay updated. Information about the activities in the school and the child's progress. Portfolios will be there. Now the schools are being instructed to send portfolios to parents so that you understand what your child is good at, not just his scores in the examination. Parents will be volunteers in different programs like foundation, National Foundation Literacy and Numeracy. So parents can be called to schools to help out the children. Field visits, sports, arts exhibitions. So please volunteer yourselves to help the school out in these, in these programs. If you are an expert in a field, propose to the school to come and deliver a lecture. If you're a doctor, an engineer, something, an entrepreneur, please come to the school, talk with the principal and propose that I want to teach the children this. And there will be sessions arranged by the schools now, as per the policy's instruction, to allow parents to come and deliver lectures. So the children will be benefited from that. Next is the parent representative for the parent-teacher meeting. So you need to know your class representatives. Who are the parents? Who are the representatives of a class? And based on that, your concerns can be passed on to the parent representatives who can take it to the principal in the parent-teacher meeting. Participate in events for parents in school. So a lot of events are normally organized. Do not miss those out by telling I'm busy, I have work. Be a participant. Involved in community outreach programs by the school. So a lot of community outreach programs will be designed by CBSE from time to time. Be a part of that, help the school to spread that awareness in the community. And your children will also enjoy that my father or my mother is doing something for the society. And once they see the parents are doing something for the society, they will have this, psychology of doing something for the society as well. We don't want our children to be, selfish. We want them to become global citizens. So unless and until we walk the talk, we cannot make it happen. So walk the talk. Do not just preach, show it in action. So community outreach programs are such. So with this, we come to the end of the presentation. I'll keep the question round open now. Any question now, any doubt, you can ask me. Over the next 10 minutes, we can finish it off. And I will also request the moderators, if there are questions from YouTube Live, they can raise those questions as well.
Good evening, sir. This is Mrs. Jessie Dorti, a parent. Sir, I have a question. So with this new education policy that we have, what will be the age criteria for admissions in the KG class? Because as you know, children as young as 2 are forced to go to this play groups that we have around. So what is going to be the age criteria now onwards? Like we have, okay, 10 years, so you have to be in 5th, you are 12, so you have to be in 7th. So what is going to be age criteria hence?
See, as of now, the age criteria is your child has to complete 3 years as on 31st December to be in nursery. Now, anything before that, the Anganwadi, the play groups, these are, now play group is not recognized as a formal schooling. So what parents do is they put the children in play group only so that they can have some time of relief and the child slowly gets used to the school environment. These are the two objectives. So in a play group school, the child is not expected to learn anything, just go and play. So it's not schooling. And as far as nursery is concerned, right now, 3 years should be completed as on 31st December. That means what? If you are admitting your child in 2021, this year, in nursery, so you are going for the admission in the month of June or April. Let's say you're going to for the month of April to admit your child. So your child should be completing 3 years in the next December. That is 2021 December. If your child has completed or is completing 3 years, is suitable for nursery. So similarly, the classes above that will be following.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Any other question?
Yes, sir. You spoke about the regional language, the slide on the regional language,
right,
which eliminates the compulsion of a language. Now, how does the school cope up with this when there are different students with the different languages? Suppose, for example, a school who has students from a Gujarati class, a Gujarati background, some of them are Marwadis, some of them are South Indians, some of them are East Indians, and so on and so forth. Now, how does the school defines these things?
We have to understand this, that we are a nation which is divided by language. We have states based on the languages. And what we are trying to do right now is if there can be a common language that can address all the students. Now, the fact is, if we have a mix of Gujaratis and Punjabis and Bengalis and Tamilians in a class, a teacher cannot simply go on teaching in different languages. So what the teacher needs to do is, of course, use English as a mode of communication. But if the children, all of them understand Hindi, the teacher can shift to Hindi at times. So this is the flexibility that is given to the schools. It's not mandatory that you cannot teach in English, or it's not telling that you should not teach in English. It's telling if the teacher needs to explain something in a language that the children can speak and understand, the teacher may do so. It's just a freedom that is being given. Using it or not using it depends on the teacher.
Okay, so the burden of the teachers increases.
Not exactly. The burden does not increase. For example, the school had instructions. For example, if I have a teacher who is teaching maths, so far we were instructing that because we are an English school and you are supposed to teach in English, so please do not shift to Marathi when you are explaining.
Okay.
So that instruction will now be withdrawn. So if you think you want to shift to Marathi to explain a part of the topic, you may do so. So it is sort of a flexibility that is given. If I want, I can take the entire, for example, I'm not a Marathi person. I am a Bengali. And I, of course, for reasons I cannot teach in Bengali in my class, right? Or I have two options now. Either I can speak in English or in Hindi. So I may use my teaching. So far I was teaching only in English. Now I'll mix it up. I'll use a bit of English, I can use a bit of Hindi, the way you communicate. So the way we communicate at times is not entirely English. It's a English at times we do. So that is what is being allowed.
Okay. The other question is there any proposed date for the implementation of this policy?
No, there's no proposed dates. There are specific phases given that this should be implemented by this year. For example, the vocational education. Yeah. It's by 2025, 50% of the children should have access to vocational education. So on. These type of, sort of tentative years are given.
Okay.
Till which it's not supposed to be achieved.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
As you told that assessment will be done for class 3rd, 5th, 8th, 10 and 12. So if any child is not doing well in 5th grade, then what will be, we will be upgrading in the that child for 6th standard, or he will be repeating in 5th standard?
Yes, this answer you will get again in the National Curriculum Framework. If you remember, recently there was a discussion that if a child can be detained in class 5 and class 8 also. So far the CBSE policy was allowing detention only in class 9. It's not the CBSE policy, it's in fact the Right to Education Act. The RT very clearly told that you cannot detain a child before he reaches class 9. Now there was a big debate on that. When class 9, a lot of children started failing and the parents started objecting that my child was passing all these years, what happened in class 9? So now the educators came up with a new thought process that children should be filtered at each level. A child going to class 9 with a knowledge of class 4 or 5 cannot pass the exam anyway. So what was done there is many states implemented the failure in class 5 and 8 also. There are few states where the government verdict was passed. For example, in Maharashtra itself, it was very clearly told the child can be detained in class 5, class 8, and the government approved that. But it did not happen because the schools did not want to do it. So today, if I want a child to be detained in class 8, I can do it in my school. But because schools are reluctant to do it for different reasons, children were not detained. But right now, this policy may see detention. But again, as you understand, detention is not the objective. By detaining a child, we cannot improve a child. So the whole policy of the National Curriculum Framework will be designed in a way that the child can clear it. So if we are having a phase, 3 to 5 is a phase, let's say 3, 4, 5. So it can give the flexibility that a subject of class 3, the child can clear in class 5. By that time, the child will have the maturity to solve class 3 questions in class 5 at least. So he need not be detained. So these type of provisions might be there. So this is just opening up the possibility. Framework will be the one which will tell you how it is being done. And that framework will keep changing. Policy remains same, but depending on phase-wise instruction, the framework will keep changing. So maybe a framework comes in next year or this year. After 10 years, another framework comes in that will tell you now do it differently, but the policy remains same. So depending on the gradual transition, the framework may be modified. And we have to wait and see how it happens.
Excuse me, myself, Serena De Silva here. Since the policy says that vocational courses for standard 6 to 8, so who will be training these vocational courses? There will be extra teachers who will be coming, or the teachers who are presently there, they will be given some extra knowledge or training?
Both. We will be having teachers in that vocational skill, experts in that vocational field. For example, to teach pottery, we cannot tell a teacher that you learn pottery now. We have to bring a potter. To teach, let's say, carpentry, we at times can bring a carpenter. A motor mechanic comes into the school and teaches how to repair a car. So these things will happen. Or we take the children to a motor garage, showing them how it is to be done. So the vocation will be taught by experts in the field, not novices.
Okay, there will be limitations for vocational courses, or the child can opt for any vocational courses, or the school will be providing the...
Yes, it depends on the school, ma'am, because unless and until the school has a provision, the child will not have an access to it. But it's very clearly told in the policy that whatever vocations are, popular in that particular region, go for those things. For example, if someone is in Kolhapur and Kolhapuri chappal is a very, GI, geographic indicator, so they might be taken to a Kolhapuri chappal cobbler shop to see how it is being manufactured. Similarly, someone stays in Mysore, they might be taken to a sweet shop to see how Mysore Pak is being made. But this is only the exposure. But there will be different courses also. Courses in terms of, IT, marketing management, financial management, which will be told by CBSE, and this will be curriculum, and the schools can, take a few of those and give it to the children. But the children will not be limited with only, let's say if my school offers 5 curricular, this vocational courses, which CBSE has. But pottery is not one of them. But I can still take a child to a potter and show how it is being done. So the 10 bagless days that we are talking about will make that happen. So vocation and different courses, skills will be taught to the child. Next.
Thank you, sir.
Excuse me, sir. Myself, Ujwala Barboza, a parent. I'd like to ask a question.
Sure, ma'am.
Like this NEP policy will be implemented very soon. So, like the beginners who are there, like who will be joining the school from nursery, say, or means from the lower classes, they will be availing of the foundation stage, preparatory stage, middle stage, as well as secondary. But what about the children who have already started with their 10+2 session? They are already in the school. So, like how they will be coping up and switching off? Will they be switching off directly?
No,
It's
no,
like
it's not going to happen. Understand one thing, that the policy is being implemented and it will not be a sudden implementation. All of a something sudden, something new comes and everything changes. It's not going to be like that. It will be a gradual shift. And the shifting will be such that no one will have any difficulty in that. The policy is designed in that way that it will be seamlessly implemented. So whoever is in class 10th, 12th, they will not be impacted. They will only be getting new benefits which were not there earlier. So this is what is being opened up. It's opening up new avenues, new facilities for children who are already there and who are new to the policy. They are going to get it anyway. So understand, this is only a benefit. It will never actually in any way limit our child who is already in 10th or 12th in any way. It's not going to do that.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Any other question?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I am Mrs. Neville the Dias, a teacher from Notre Dame.
Mhm.
Thank you very much for the wonderful session. I have been noting down few questions from the YouTube.
Yeah,
and I
sure.
would like to ask you that most of the part of the questions that were asked, you have cleared it very well. But there is one thing which I wanted to ask you is that in the new NEP policy that is there, from 9 to 12 standard, the parents wanted to know that if a child is in class 10 and if he wants to leave the school in class 10, whether he wants to join another school or he wants to join a diploma, will that be allowed or how will he go about that?
Yes, understand one thing. This policy is talking about flexibility. So a child shifting a school will definitely be allowed. That is how it is, you know. There might be criterion based on which that shifting has to happen. For example, I think you are referring to something that is happening in Goa. If a child needs to shift from one school to another, there has to be specific reasons. And without those reasons, the child cannot shift. So that's not the case for other parts of the country. And this policy is talking about flexibility. So shifting not only within the, in between different schools, it will also allow shifting a child from, let's say, online to physical mode and physical to online mode. And it's not only about the school, it's also talking about the college level. For example, if I'm doing, BSc, I can shift to online version and back to offline version again. Now, another very important thing is in the university or college level, earlier if the child, anyone enrolled and they did 1 year course and dropped out, the child or the student passed out without any degree or diploma in hand. Now it is telling that in college, if you do 1 year's course and you drop out after completing 1 year, you will still get a certificate. If you drop out after 2 years, you will get a diploma. You drop out, you don't drop out. In fact, you complete after 3 years, you get a degree. So whether you drop out in the first year, second year, or third year, irrespective of that, you will have something in your hand, a qualification. The next thing is, if you are dropping out, let's say after first year, spend 2 or 3 years for different things, maybe your family reasons, you had to work or take up a profession, and after 3 years you want to come back. Earlier it had to be like, join in the very first year again. But now, because you have completed first year already, you can start even after 3 or 5 years from the second year. So the credits will be carried over and will stay with you, for a long time. So you can shift between courses, between colleges, online to offline, offline to online, and this is going to happen. And what I was talking about in a session in the morning with Podar International School, Nerul, that very soon we might see, because so much preference is now given to the learner, that the learner will choose from whom to learn, that a child is going for English to one school, for maths to another one. In long run, it's not in next 10, 15 years, but in very long run, that might also happen. Because children will now choose what they want to study and from whom and in what channel. It is in some way happening already. In the, this competitive exam classes, a child goes to maths in one coaching, physics for another coaching. So that thing might boil down to school level also. So that is the flexibility. Any other question from YouTube?
Yes, sir. I have one more question for you. The parents also wanted to know that is there a sample format for assessment of different skills, and even the 360-degree report card that has been there from grade
No,
4, is it
360-degree
available?
report card has not yet been published. But if the parents want to see it, as I told you, I will be covering a lot of things on my YouTube channel. So in the next channel, next session itself, I will be showing them what a 360-degree report card basically means. So in one of the videos that I'll make, I'll put that. And the schools can imitate that report card format. And of course, CBSE and the National Curriculum Framework will come up with a concrete design as well. So just show it what a 360-degree basically means, and then we can replicate the design CBSE or the policy tells us to follow.
Thank you very much, sir. That's it from me.
One more question was there. Praveen Nair is asking, hope the education institutes are restricted from demanding higher percentage for admission. Now understand this thing that higher percentage of admission, as far as the cutoff marks is concerned, it might change in this way, like the SAT exams. The SAT exams are there, and a SAT score is one single indicator to get into a college of US or Canada, and few colleges in India as well. So there might be an examination which is a competency-based exam, and that score can be used across colleges for an entrance examination, as an entrance examination. So not only the percentage in the board exam that will be mattering, but other things also might, be allowed. Like for example, as I said, the SAT model may be there. And if there is another important question, I'll quickly check.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
One more query that I wanted to ask.
Sure.
How is the new education policy going to affect on the publication of books? Like, will the curriculum be same in all the other boards like CBSE, ICSE and other states? What about the other states? Will the states have different textbooks like how we have now?
Yes, as long as the boards continue to exist, there will be slight changes in the textbook. An ICSE board textbook will be slightly different from a CBSE board, and IGCSE board book will be again different. So that difference will be there. But understand one thing, irrespective of the board, everyone follows National Curriculum Framework. So when textbook writers are writing the book, they have to keep the NCF in their mind, at the back of the mind. And the textbooks, all the publications right now, if you see, they're already working to, to get ready for the new textbooks to be printed. Moment NCRT comes up with the, the learning objectives at a different, grade-wise level. What are the objectives for class 1? What are the objectives for class 2? Books will be published according to that. All private publications will be designing according to that, keeping slight difference between ICC and CBSE boards. So book market is going to change as well.
Excuse me, sir. This is Pramila Dabre here, parent of. Now, I just wanted to know that a number of subjects will reduce at school level at each stage, as well as strength of the students.
No, strength of the school, we are not doing anything about that, because India is such a populated country. If you reduce the strength of the school, where will the children go? Already we are having classrooms of, 40 kids are permitted in CBSE schools, but lot many state board schools have strength of 60 also. So understand this thing that more number of schools are needed. The policy talks about philanthropic mindset people to come up and set up new schools. The government will be supporting the setting up of new schools. But as far as the number of children are concerned, as of now, it's 40 and expected to remain 40, unless and until the number rapidly increases, the school numbers. Did I answer your question, or was there part of it?
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other question anyone has? From which year the policy is going to be implemented? Jamila Kusher is asking. Again, I said policy will be gradually implemented, and the new NCF will tell in which year what is happening. So it will be gradually announced. The policy has been declared. Each year we have to be updated with what's happening. So that's the reason I told attend the school meetings, parents meetings, keep your eyes and ears open. You will be coming to know through media, through the school, that what are the changes. So,
So I have a question here.
yeah, sure.
How can one get enrolled in higher education institutes? For example, as we know, for the higher standards, the cutoff marks for the NEET and the JEE are too high and competitive. So how this is going to work with uh, those standards?
They will redesign, ma'am, because we are talking about getting out of the mode that is existing. So if you see the policy is talking about not to give emphasis on certain subjects, flexibility. So all these competitive exams that we have, they have mushroomed up, and coaching classes have mushroomed up all over the country. Precautions and steps are being taken so that this burden is not passed on to the children. Every parent now is forcing the child to become an engineer or a doctor. So these things will be, sorted out by parent awareness, telling them different types of professions. At the same time, modifications of the entrance examinations will be done. But what modification, if you ask today, we are not in a position to tell, because, as I said, as and how the policy is getting slowly implemented, each thing will slowly, it's like a lotus. You have to see that petals are opening up slowly. So you cannot expect it to blossom all of a sudden. So one petal opens, you be happy about that. But ultimately, that it's going to blossom up. All the petals are going to open.
But we can say that it's still time.
Yeah, it's time, because we have fixed up a deadline. People have worked towards like this, that the policy should be implemented over the next 10 years. So by 2030, majority of the, whatever the policy talks about should be in practice. But again, the policies of India are made, and implementation depends on the politicians, the bureaucrats, the local government. Now we have the same, MLA and MP and ministers being there, the same, very honest bureaucrats sitting in the government chairs doing their work. So as long as that is going to exist, the policy, whether it will be implemented in the letter and spirit or not, it entirely depends on the people who are doing it. But as educators, as common people, the parents, if they voice it out that we want it, I don't think anyone can resist it. The only thing is, whenever a change comes, a normal tendency of any human being is resisting the change. So there will be a resistance. Few people will do it, schools will do it, parents will do it. But gradually, you see, it will remain like this. And whatever is happening right now will definitely change. And our children, if they want to be employed in, as I said, the trend analyzers, they are predicting something. They are predicting, today, after 30 years or 20 years, 85% of the jobs that will be there in 2021, let's say 2050 or something like that, does not exist today. And 65% of the children who are in primary school today will work in jobs that does not exist now. So we are seeing a change in the job market. The jobs will not remain the same. Even the doctors will not remain same. The teachers will not remain same. 20 years ago, could you imagine that you will have a tablet in your hand and someone will be teaching you a concept on that? But now Byju's is there in every house. Teachers will be teaching online. Even before the COVID, we could not have imagined. Now it is happening. Doctors treating online. And as I told, it's very clearly told now that what are the jobs that are going to disappear and what are the jobs that are going to stay. So first thing, understand this. Jobs that are going to disappear, a very clear indication is given. Anything that is repetitive, anything that is routine will go away. It will not stay anymore. What is going to stay in the 21st century? First, anything to do with creativity, innovation. So creativity cannot be replaced by machines. Even if we have artificial intelligence, a machine or a robot can still draw pictures, write poems, but not to the level of Wordsworth, Keats, or Shelley. The second thing is anything to do with human to human interaction. If Ratan Tata is sending, someone to sign a contract with Mukesh Ambani, he will not send a robot, and Mukesh Ambani will not send a robot that analyze the data and quickly sign if you want. It's not going to be that way. So there will be a requirement of a human who will do it. Second is nurses. If you have a stomach ache, you go to a hospital, you will not be very happy if a robot comes and tells, do not worry, I'll take care of you, I'll help you. So that robotic voice will irritate you, even if it's more equipped. You need a real human being to touch you, right? So that job is going to be there. And the third form of job that is going to stay is emergency jobs, electricians, plumbers. So that is the reason this vocational education is being taught in this way, because there will be a huge requirement of such jobs. and all other things, the so-called doctors, you already have apps right now. Even being a doctor, I'm a part of that app as well. That even before patients come and consult me, there's an app on your Play Store. You just click, I have fever, click the next one. It goes on like a tree, and ultimately it suggests your medicine also.
Medicine, yeah.
Yeah. So that is the way the doctors are going to change. Even the lawyers, the engineers, everything is going to change. So in this scenario, whatever the policy is telling, we have to follow it in letter and spirit and equip our children with that. So whatever else, the subject, the syllabi, the competitive exams, all are immaterial. Even today, you see the big companies like Google, Facebook, employees are working without formal qualification and they are getting highly paid. So qualifications will not matter anymore. And that is the reason, if you're thinking in the lines of competitive exam, this and that, I'll again tell you, over the years, it will only competency, innovation that will prevail. So get ready for that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you
Right.
so much.
So anything else?
No, sir.
Thank you so much.
Sir, for apprising us about the details of NEP 2020 and patiently answering all our queries. I request Sister Anita to propose vote of thanks on behalf of the Notre Dame family.
Dr. Swarup Datta. Believe me when I say, on behalf of our manager, Sister Jayanti, our principal, Sister Shaileja, our PTA core committee members, parents, and the staff of Notre Dame family, that you have really calmed our fears and awakened an understanding of what the future holds for our students and for us and for India. We feel honored and privileged to have been in the midst of a visionary leader and educator like you. Thank you for conducting this session so patiently and with such clarity. In spite of your tight schedule, you are truly a human person reaching out to other humans in need. God bless you for that. Initially, as you said, most of us resist change in spite of knowing that change brings about growth and adds freshness and newness to everyday events of life. School is a very important everyday event of life. So I guess we need to say thank you for this NEP policy that is evolving. We now can look forward to comprehensive learning and learning to learn, not to memorize. Thank you so much for spending your precious time with us and enlightening us so patiently. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Anita. On that note, we conclude with the webinar. I hope each one of us has learned a significant keynote through the webinar. Once again, I thank Sir for his experiential guidance. It's audiences like you that make webinars awesome. Thank you very much for your unwavering attention and active participation. God bless us all. Have a pleasant evening.
I would request everyone to come on the camera so that the YouTube can capture each one of your faces. I'll scroll across all the windows. So let's capture your presence. All right. All right, I think I have captured most of your pics. I'll just scroll through and check if others are on the cam as well or not. Thank you so much. So parents, again, it was lovely interacting with you and hope to be in touch with you through my YouTube channel and through the school as well. Whenever sister will invite me, I'll be there physically as well. to conduct certain sessions on career guidance for your children. And till that time, stay happy, stay safe, and happy parenting. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
So